He didn't even let me finish. And that should have been my first warning. I had barely started explaining when he just looked at me, shook his head, and cut me off. If you put that in your engine, don't come back to me. Not advice, not a suggestion, a straight warning, the kind that makes you pause for a second longer than usual. And I did pause, because this wasn't some random guy. This was someone I trusted, someone who had worked on my car for years, someone who had seen engines fail in ways most people don't even think about. So when he says something like that, you're supposed to listen. But here's what didn't sit right with me. He didn't ask what I had researched, didn't ask why I was considering it, didn't even ask what exactly I was planning to use. He just shut it down completely. And for most people, that would have been the end of it. Decision made, risk avoided, move on, but I didn't move on. Because something had already been bothering me for weeks. My petrol car had started feeling off. Not broken, not failing. Just not right. The throttle wasn't as sharp as it used to be. There was this slight delay every time I pressed the pedal, like the engine needed a fraction of a second to respond. Fuel economy had dipped too, not dramatically, just enough that I kept noticing it. At first I blamed traffic, then fuel quality, then maybe just my imagination, but the feeling didn't go away, and once you notice something like that, it sticks with you. Every drive becomes a quiet comparison. How it feels now versus how it used to feel, and slowly, without realizing it, you adapt, you lower your expectations, you accept it. The car wasn't old enough to feel like this. 1.5L petrol engine, just over 92,000 kilometers driven. It should have felt better than it did, so I took it to my mechanic. He checked everything, listened carefully, ran diagnostics, took the car out for a short drive. When he came back, he gave me that look. The one that tells you nothing is technically wrong, which is somehow worse than an actual problem, because at least problems have solutions. This was just normal wear, high mileage, nothing to worry about. And then came the solution, a professional fuel system cleaning service. Proper process, machine-based, the kind that sounds convincing because it's expensive, around $200 to $300, and even then, no guarantees. I said I'd think about it and left, but that night I couldn't let it go, not because of the money, but because of the uncertainty. Paying that much for something that might not work didn't feel right. So at 3 a.m. I opened my laptop, not looking for a miracle, just trying to understand what was really happening, and that's when I found it, a thread, buried deep in a forum, 2 years old, no replies, just one post. And the moment I read it, I stopped, because it described my exact situation. Same dull throttle, same slight mileage drop, same cold start hesitation, even the way it was written. The car feels fine, but not as alive as it used to be. That line hit me immediately, because that's exactly how I would have described it. Then he mentioned something unexpected, not a service, not a mechanic, a product, $3. I actually paused for a second because it didn't make sense. $3 versus a $300 service. That's not a comparison, that's a risk. But what made it different was this. No links, no promotion, no attempt to sell anything, just experience. He said he had used it occasionally on high mileage engines and noticed gradual improvements. And the strange part, I knew the product, not because I had used it, but because I had seen it so many times in stores, and ignored it every single time. The next morning, I decided to test it properly. Before adding anything, I locked in my baseline. Fuel economy, 11.3 kilometer per liter. Cold start, slight hesitation. Throttle response, delayed. I wanted numbers, not guesses. Then I bought it. $3, no expectations. Added it to the fuel tank, filled up, and started driving. Day 1, nothing changed. Same throttle, same idle, same car. And this is exactly where most people stop, because we expect results instantly. I almost did the same, almost decided it was useless, almost moved on. Day 2, same route, same conditions. And then something small happened. The throttle felt slightly sharper, not dramatic, but noticeable. Once. Then again, same stretch of road, same response. That's when I wrote one word. Happening. Still not convinced, but no longer ignoring it. And this is where doubt hit me harder than before, because I started thinking, what if this is doing damage slowly? What if I'm trading short-term improvement for long-term problems? At this point, I almost regretted not listening to him. That thought stayed with me the entire day. Day 3. This is where everything changed. Two things happened back to back. First, fuel economy. Over 2 days of normal driving, it shifted from 11.3 to 12.5 kilometer per liter. That's not random anymore. That's a pattern. Second, the cold start. For months, every morning there had been a slight hesitation. Nothing serious, just noticeable. But on day 3, I turned the key, and the engine fired instantly. Clean, smooth, no hesitation, no vibration. Just a steady, quiet hum that felt almost unfamiliar because I hadn't heard it in so long. I sat there for a few seconds, just listening. That's when I knew this wasn't in my head. That evening, I called my mechanic. I told him everything. There was a pause. Then he said, "You put what in your engine?" I told him again, calmly. His response was immediate. "Stop driving, bring it in." He said he wanted to check everything before something went wrong. And for a moment, doubt came back again, because this is someone with real experience, someone who has seen engines fail, and here I was trusting a $3 solution. But then I thought about day 3, the results, the changes, and I made a decision. I didn't go, because day 4 was 1 day away. Day 4, I paid attention to everything, every acceleration, every sound, every response. And by the end of that drive, one realization hit me clearly. It didn't feel like an improvement. It felt like recovery, like something I had slowly lost had come back. Throttle response, instant. Idle, smooth. Cold starts, clean. For a second, I genuinely thought maybe this was just placebo. Maybe I wanted it to work so badly that I was convincing myself it had. So I did something simple. I drove the same route again. Same traffic, same speed, same conditions, and the result didn't change. The response was still there. The smoothness was still there. That's when that doubt disappeared completely. Then my phone rang. It was him. My mechanic. I hadn't called him. He called me. He asked one question. "How is the car running?" I told him everything. There was silence. Then he said, "Wait, you're serious?" And in that moment, his tone changed. This wasn't concern anymore. This was curiosity. Then he admitted something I didn't expect. He had used the same thing years ago on an older engine, and it worked. So why did he warn me? Because people misuse these things all the time. Wrong product, wrong amount, wrong expectations. And when things go wrong, they blame the product. So for him, the safest answer is always, don't risk it. And honestly, that makes sense. But it didn't change what I experienced. And the product, not some $50 cleaner. Not a professional service, just something most people walk past without thinking twice. Marvel Mystery Oil. If you're curious, I've put the exact one I used in the description. Check it if you want, or don't. I just wanted to share what happened. It's not new, it's not trending, it's just one of those things that quietly does its job. It helps clean the buildup your engine collects over time. The kind you don't see, the kind that slowly reduces performance, throttle response, efficiency, smooth starts, so gradually that you adapt to it, until one day you accept it as normal, and that's the part that stayed with me, not the product, not even the numbers, the realization. I had been driving a reduced version of my car for months, maybe longer, and I didn't question it, I adapted, and that's what actually costs you, because sometimes it's wear, but sometimes it's just buildup, and nobody tells you the difference. 4 days, $3. My engine came back. Now I want your take. Works or scam?